The warm sun shone over London's Hyde Park, casting golden rays on the tall green trees. Emily Parker, a 23-year-old literature student, sat quietly on a wooden bench with her notebook. Her long chestnut hair fell loosely over her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with dreams that only her heart knew. She loved observing life around her, children playing, couples walking hand in hand, the quiet rustle of leaves. But today was different. Today, her heart skipped a beat when her gaze fell on a stranger across the park. He was tall, dressed neatly in a navy blue suit, holding a bouquet of white lilies. His sharp jawline, soft brown eyes, and confident yet gentle aura made him stand out. He wasn't looking around like others, instead, he seemed lost in thought, staring at the lake. Emily tried to ignore him, but her pen froze in mid-sentence. There was something magnetic about him. Just then, a gust of wind blew, and her notebook slipped from her hands, its pages scattering across the grass. The stranger noticed, rushed forward, and helped her gather the sheets. "Here you go," he said softly, his voice deep and soothing. "Thank you," Emily replied, slightly blushing. Their eyes met just for a few seconds, but enough to plant the first seed of destiny. "I'm Daniel. Daniel Knight," he introduced himself with a warm smile. "Emily," she said shyly, holding her notebook close. That brief meeting ended as quickly as it began. He walked away, but Emily felt her heart beating faster. She didn't know if she would ever see him again, but fate had other plans. 2 weeks later, Emily attended a friend's engagement party. The grand hall was filled with laughter, music, and sparkling lights. She wasn't particularly fond of crowded events, but her best friend insisted. As she stood near the dessert table, tasting a slice of cake, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Seems like you prefer cake over dancing." Emily turned around and froze. It was him. Daniel Knight. "Daniel," she whispered in surprise. He chuckled. "So you do remember me? That's good." Emily's cheeks flushed. "Of course. You rescued my notebook from the wind." "It was fate then," Daniel said with a charming smile. They spent the rest of the evening talking. She learned that he was 26, a successful architect working in his family's firm. But what fascinated her most wasn't his career, it was the way he listened to her, truly listened, as if her words mattered more than the noise of the party. By the end of the night, they exchanged numbers. As Emily returned home, she couldn't stop smiling. She didn't know where this connection would lead, but her heart whispered that it was just the beginning. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel and Emily grew closer. Their conversations stretched late into the night, filled with laughter, dreams, and secrets they had never shared with anyone else. He often surprised her with little things: flowers left at her doorstep, texts reminding her to eat during her study sessions, and long walks under the city lights. One evening, as they strolled along the River Thames, Emily asked, "Daniel, do you believe in love at first sight?" He looked at her thoughtfully. "I didn't until I saw you in Hyde Park." Her heart melted at his words. Slowly, their bond deepened into something unbreakable. Emily's parents adored Daniel when they met him, praising his manners and kindness. But love stories are never without challenges, and theirs was about to be tested. Daniel belonged to a wealthy family. The Knights were known in London's high society, respected for their business empire. His parents, however, had different plans for his future. They wanted him to marry the daughter of a business partner, believing it would strengthen their legacy. When Daniel confessed his love for Emily, his parents were shocked. An ordinary girl, a literature student. Daniel, you must think about your family's name, his mother argued. Daniel's jaw tightened. I love her. And I won't give her up for anyone. The disagreement created tension in his home. Emily, unaware at first, noticed Daniel becoming quiet, often lost in thought. Daniel, is something wrong? She asked one evening as they sat in a cozy cafe. He took her hand gently. Emily, my parents don't approve of us. Her eyes widened. What? But why? I've never done anything wrong. It's not you, he said firmly. It's their expectations. But I don't care. You're my choice, Emily. My heart belongs to you. Tears welled in her eyes. She had dreamed of a simple, happy love story, but reality was more complicated. Still, she knew her love for Daniel was stronger than any obstacle. Despite the challenges, Daniel decided to take a step forward. On Emily's 24th birthday, he planned a surprise. He took her to the very place where they first met, Hyde Park. Under the same oak tree, decorated with fairy lights, a small table was set with candles and roses. Emily gasped, her hands covering her mouth. Daniel, this is beautiful. He knelt on one knee, holding a velvet box. Inside was a sparkling diamond ring. Emily Parker, he said, his voice trembling with emotion, from the moment I met you, I knew my life would never be the same. You are my best friend, my strength, my love. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as she whispered, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her hand gently. The park echoed with their laughter, their love shining brighter than the stars above. But as much as they celebrated, they knew the real battle was yet to come, convincing Daniel's family. After Emily accepted the proposal, Daniel was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to tell his family, hoping they would eventually understand. But when he brought Emily to the Knight mansion for dinner, things didn't go as planned. His mother, Lady Eleanor Knight, was polite yet distant. She smiled but her eyes carried judgment. His father, Charles Knight, spoke very little throughout the meal, though his silence was louder than words. When Emily excused herself for a moment, Eleanor turned to her son. Daniel, she seems sweet, but she's not one of us. Our world is different. You have responsibilities, a legacy to uphold. Daniel's jaw tightened. Mother, I love her. That's all that matters. Charles finally spoke, his voice stern. Love is fleeting. Family reputation is forever. Emily overheard part of the conversation as she returned, her heart sinking. She felt like an outsider in the grand mansion. That night, as Daniel dropped her home, she tried to smile but her eyes betrayed her pain. Daniel, maybe your parents are right, she whispered. I don't belong in your world. Daniel cupped her face gently. Don't say that. Emily, I chose you. I'll fight for us, no matter what. Rumors began to spread in Daniel's social circle. Friends of his family whispered that he was throwing away his future for a simple girl. Invitations stopped coming. Business partners grew distant. Emily noticed the stress Daniel was under. She loved him too much to see him hurt. One evening, she made a painful decision. "Daniel," she said softly, holding his hands, "maybe we should take a step back. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything." His eyes widened in shock. "Emily, no. Don't ever think that. You're not my weakness, you're my strength. Without you, none of this means anything." Tears rolled down her cheeks as he pulled her into his arms. At that moment, Emily realized Daniel's love wasn't fragile. It was unshakable. Emily decided she couldn't win over Daniel's parents with arguments, only with actions. She began to visit his mother occasionally, offering help with charity events and volunteering at foundations Lady Eleanor supported. At first, Eleanor was cold, but over time, she noticed Emily's sincerity. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, she genuinely cared. One afternoon, during a charity drive at a children's hospital, Eleanor saw Emily sitting on the floor, reading stories to sick children. Their little faces lit up with joy, and Emily's laughter filled the room. Something softened inside Eleanor's heart. Later that evening, she admitted to Charles, she has kindness in her eyes. The kind of kindness money can't buy. Charles remained stubborn, but Eleanor began to see what Daniel saw. Despite Emily's efforts, Charles still refused to give his blessing. Daniel grew frustrated, torn between love and family duty. One night, after another heated argument with his father, Daniel stormed out of the mansion and drove to Emily's apartment. He held her tightly, his voice breaking. "If they can't accept us, I'll walk away from it all. The wealth, the company, none of it matters without you." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She admired his courage, but she didn't want him to sacrifice his family. "Daniel, I don't want to separate you from your parents. One day, they'll see that our love is real. Until then, promise me we'll stay strong together." Daniel nodded, kissing her forehead. "Together. Always." Weeks later, Charles had an unexpected encounter. He attended a business dinner where he overheard a conversation about Daniel. One partner said, "That boy of yours. I admire his courage. Most men in his position wouldn't choose love over money. He's not just a businessman, he's a man of character." Those words struck Charles deeply. He realized his son wasn't being reckless, he was being true to himself. The following Sunday, Charles visited Emily's small apartment for the first time. She opened the door, surprised to see him standing there in his formal suit. "Mr. Knight," she gasped. He stepped inside, his expression serious. "Emily, I may not have been fair to you. But I see now you bring out the best in my son. That's all a father should want." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. "Thank you, sir." For the first time, Charles smiled faintly. "Welcome to the family." With the blessing of both families, preparations for the wedding began. Emily wanted something simple and heartfelt, while Daniel's family insisted on grandeur. They compromised, combining elegance with intimacy. The ceremony was held in a stunning countryside estate surrounded by blooming gardens. The aisle was decorated with white roses, and soft music floated through the air. Emily walked down the aisle in a flowing ivory gown, her veil shimmering under the golden sunlight. Daniel stood waiting, his eyes glistening with emotion. As she reached him, he whispered, "You look like my forever." She smiled, her voice trembling. "And you're my always." The vows were filled with promises of love, loyalty, and faith. When Daniel kissed his bride, the guests erupted in applause, their hearts touched by the purity of their love. The reception was magical. Laughter, dancing, and heartfelt speeches filled the evening. Emily's father spoke proudly, while Eleanor hugged her new daughter-in-law warmly. Even Charles raised a toast, his voice thick with emotion. To Daniel and Emily, he said, lifting his glass. May your love always remind us what truly matters in life. As the night drew to an end, Daniel and Emily sneaked away from the crowd, standing under the starlit sky. He held her hand, kissing her wedding ring gently. Emily, we made it, he whispered. Through every storm, every doubt we made it. She rested her head on his shoulder. And now, our forever begins. The stars shone brighter, as if blessing their union. Their love had not only survived, it had triumphed. Epilogue, a love that lasts. Years later, Emily and Daniel were still inseparable. She became a writer, publishing novels inspired by their journey. Daniel continued his work as an architect, building not just structures but dreams. Their love story became an inspiration to many, a reminder that true love is worth fighting for, no matter the odds. Because in the end, it wasn't wealth, status, or legacy that mattered. It was love, pure, selfless, and eternal. And that was their happily ever after.